everyone, and welcome to the 2014 League of Legends World Championship. For the last 10 months, teams from around the globe have been fighting simply to make it this far. You are currently looking live at the National Taiwan University Sports Center. The greatest League of Legends players in the world have come to prove themselves. It's AHQ eSports Club entering the venue, Starhorn Royal Club in their ready room, getting themselves sorted for the day, and of course, the hometown favorites, the Taipei Assassins, heading in with all of their gear. There are 16 teams that have risen through the ranks, and today, 8 of them will continue their quest for the Summoners Cup and the title of World Champions. I am Trevor Quickshot Henry, and joining me here on the analyst desk are some of the top minds from League of Legends. Starting with Evil Geniuses, Mitch Crepo Forspools, Team Dignitas, Alberto Crumbs Rengifo, welcome to the desk. Next up is, of course, on-game netcaster Christopher Monte Cristo Michaels, and the President Punster of North American LCS, David Freak Turley. It's great to have you guys here. Thank you for joining us. Now, our tournament begins today in Taipei, where the first 8 teams in both Groups A and B will compete through September 21st for a chance to survive and advance towards a shot at the Summoners Cup. Then we'll head to Singapore, where the second set of teams from Group C and D will play their matches at the Singapore Expo on September 25th through to the 28th. The top 2 teams from each group will advance to the quarterfinals in Busan, Korea, and those 8 teams will go head-to-head in the Bexco Auditorium October 3rd through October 6th. The action will then shift to Seoul, Korea, with 4 teams in the semifinals at the Olympic Gymnastics Arena on October 11th and 12th. And all of that leads up to the 2014 World Championship match, which will take place in the Sangam World Cup Stadium on October 19th, as the last 2 teams standing will battle for this year's Summoners Cup. Now, we are both proud and honored that this 2014 World Championship will be broadcast around the globe in 16 different languages with over 24 different broadcast partners, so the term Worlds is ridiculously appropriate. Over the next 4 weeks, we'll be seeing former world champion TPA player Mistake, along with Remember, casting for the Garena Premier League. That's going to be covering Southeast Asia and Taiwan, along with the casters from China's Tencent League of Legends Pro League, and of course coverage from Korea's OnGameNet. We, of course, have our own team on the ground in Taipei to bring you all of the action. So let's actually send it over to the caster desk for a preview of today's matches.
Hello everyone, I am Rivington Bislin III, and making up our caster Trinity Force is Lee D-Man Smith and Joshua Jat Leesman.
Yeah, and this is just so crazy. We've been waiting the entire year for the World Championship to start, and it's finally here. Plus, it's the middle of the day, so it's a little bright. It'll get darker as we get later in the day, but we got 6 games now to play.
Yeah, we have got a jam-packed day. To kick off our World Championships, of course, it is starting out with China's #1 seed, Edward Gaming, versus Korea's Samsung White. And that's going to be followed by North America's Summer Champions, Team Solamid, taking on Europe's SK Gaming.
That's right, D-Man. After that, 2 teams make their Worlds debut with Dark Passage from Turkey versus the GPL's AHQ eSports Club. Then, one of the home teams will head to the stage as the Taipei Assassins face China's Starhorn Royal Club.
And in our final 2 matches, AHQ will take on Samsung White, and Starhorn Royal Club will face off against Team Solamid.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing stuff. For now, though, we're going to send it over to Shox at the interview lounge for some initial thoughts on today's games.
Thank you very much, D-Man, and hello everyone. I'm Evie Shox de Poortre, joined here at the interview lounge by Sam Kobe Hartman Kensel and Martin de Fiscio Lunge. Now guys, anticipation is running high, and I have to ask, what are you guys most looking forward to today, Kobe?
Well, it's got to be the very first game coming up here. Edward Gaming, the #1 seed coming out of China, versus Samsung White, quite possibly the strongest team coming into the entire tournament. And with the way that Ozone performed last year in group stages, I expect them to come out of the gate swinging here right from the beginning. Should be one of the most exciting matches of the entire group.
Totally agree, Martin.
I mean, have to agree, of course. Game 1 is going to be insane. Game 2, SK Gaming, new jungler now, Gilius. What can he do on the big stage? I mean, the guy's coming from Challenger scene, 2 worlds instantly, and SK Gaming, they have to perform. Playing TSM here, Europe against NA, it's going to start already. And then I'm also looking at TPA against Starhorn Royal Club. I mean, TPA, they're playing here, the home crowd. And if they can actually manage to survive the early game, I believe they do have a chance to win, and it would be pretty awesome if they did.
Very interesting. Well, we will be catching up with the pros throughout the day to get the inside story on every explosive match. But for now, let's send things back over to the guys at the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, Shocks and crew. The 2014 World Championship is bringing together teams and players from around the world. I wouldn't mind asking you guys to give me some insight into some of the regional strengths and the differences between the teams taking part. Crumbs, you're the new kid on the block, so tell me your thoughts.
Well, we have Europe coming in as more of a dark horse. The last time they played, we saw them play at Gamescom mid-August, so it's been a while. And really, the only time we've seen these players play is in the Korean solo queue ladder, along with the North American teams. Now, they've been doing excellently in these. They've achieved master level, challenger level, which makes me think perhaps the mechanical difference between the North American and European teams with the Koreans just isn't there. They're both able to play at the same level.
Yeah, I think that we have seen a lot of teams and players mechanically catching up to the Koreans, and that's not the big difference between the teams. A lot of the time, we do have exceptional mechanical players in the West as well as in Asia, but it's that team play element, right? It's that depth of strategic knowledge, the vision control. That's what really differentiates the Korean teams from everybody else.
Yeah, and I'm just looking forward to how these Western teams have been adapting to scrims in Korea. I've been there in 2012 when we were there. Initially, we lost all our scrims, but after a week, you really start learning, you start adapting to their playstyle. And yeah, as you said, mechanically, maybe they're not exactly on the same level, but they're close enough for where it matters. But they can just learn a lot about the macro level strategy of these Korean teams. And then one point in particular that I want to see is how fast are those Korean top laners going to be teleporting down? Because when I play bot lane and I'm in a skirmish, it takes me about 10 seconds once we start fighting. Once they get low, like, hey, we can get our top laner in here. When I watch Korean League, they're in there like in an instant, and I'm so surprised how quick they react. There's very few TP cancels as well, so I'm really looking forward to these top laners interacting with their bottom lane through teleports or even just mid lane.
And I'm actually more interested myself in seeing how the various regions do interact. I actually want to see more regional differences because I agree, especially with Monte Cristo, the Koreans are generally a step ahead, especially strategically. So I want to see teams kind of forget that element of the game, rely on the fact that they're going to be mechanically about equal, and play a different type of game. Play a more early game aggressive game, try to win your lane. We've got amazing Western players like Bjergsen and Froggen who can just crush people, who are so darn good individually. Use that, snowball a lead, play a 20-minute and then fall off team comp to get some of these upset wins. I think that's the way you beat the heavy favorites in the Korean teams.
Well, definitely a risky strategy. We will see if that pays out for them. If you guys at home do want to get on any last-minute studying, make sure you head over to lolesports.com. That's where you can find interviews, stats, VODs of their previous matches, and much more. You can also find a complete schedule for this week and vote for the teams that you think will win. So log on and put your predictive powers to the test, because we will be testing our analysts later in the day. We would also like you to tap your collective brain power on Twitter. Today we'd like you to tell us, how do you Worlds? So for this, we like some visuals from you as well. The World Championship is bringing fans together around the world, and we want to see how you're enjoying those games. Here you can see how the casters are doing it at their desk in the venue in Taiwan during rehearsal. Here's how we will Worlds from the analyst desk, where you can see Prolly and Doublelift, who will be joining us as guest analysts later in the week. And we want you to share with us and your friends and see how you're enjoying the games. Tweet your pictures to us at LOL Esports. Use that hashtag Worlds. Now, let's check in on the opening ceremonies at the National Taiwan University Stadium as we begin the 2014 World Championship. As we head over to the venue, you will be hearing professional esports broadcaster Lee Chen, aka Peppers. She is from Taiwan. She'll be talking us through these shots from across Taipei. We'll be getting the rest of the analysts to join in on the conversation a little later.
It's one of my favorite things about esports is how global it is.
Yeah, really, really beautiful footage from around Taipei and Taiwan. Of course, this is going to be AHQ taking to the stage.
Yeah, I've been in Taiwan before, and the crowd goes absolutely bonkers.
This guy right here, Westdoor, that's who I want to see. He used to play on the NA ladder, widely popular here. That's what I want to see him perform.
Don't forget, you've got the home crowd advantage for them as well, so I think SCA team's going to show up.
Yeah, definitely. This is, of course, Dark Passage from International Wildcard, qualifying from Turkey. Holy Phoenix is their star. They want to see if they can get him to play.
And I just like Fab Fabulous because he's called Fab Fabulous.
Great name.
I think this is one of the teams as well where they've got to rely on trying to make individual plays. Maybe they can make some games happen.
That's definitely the case. We are taking a look, of course, at Samsung White from OnGameNet champions from Korea. Probably the favorites for the tournament, really. You know, people a lot of faith in the team. I know Crepo's looking forward to seeing Mata play.
I want to get schooled.
Of course, we are going to be looking at the #1 seed from the LPL from China, Edward Gaming. Name definitely the star on that squad.
Oh, sure. And they are built around him. It's a lot of raise the AD carry, make him crash. And we'll see. I think Name is worth all the hype, though. He can bring this team far.
First time international stage. You never know. You never know.
And there's a real chance that he doesn't show up today, but
I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, we transition to Group B. This is, of course, SK Gaming. That's actually the sports psychologist who's giving Enrated a hug there. One of the only teams that's really gone that sort of professional route. Freddy, widely regarded as one of, if not the best top laner from Europe.
He's the shot caller, too. He's actually really important to this roster.
Oh, that's for sure. Always keeps his cool. Right, next up from the LPL. Season 3 finalist, as far as the franchise is concerned, it is Starhorn Royal Club, but only Uzi, not UZI. Much confusion has been had regarding his name.
It's not an Uzi name to say, after all.
Oh no, it's too early in the day for Puns Freak.
Wow. 2 in the morning, I start quick.
Of course, you got #1 seed from the North American LCS. TSM, as Crepo likes to say. Believing in apple pie. TSM calling him to make it out the groups for Crepo.
You better not let me down. Else I'm going to look really dumb.
If I recall, prediction game at Worlds last year didn't go well for you.
Also did.
Also it did.
I'm in an upwards position right now.
And of course, representing Garena Premier League, Season 2 World Champions, missed last year, have returned. It is the Taipei Assassins. I imagine this crowd is going to lose it when they take
I can't wait to hear the crowd, man.
We played a show match with them one day in Taiwan, and it was absolutely insane. Really cool crowd.
We will see. We watched those GPL finals. The team looked fantastic.
接下来就让我们到召唤峡谷一决胜负喽。
Just a few crowd shots, of course, just before we head back into the radio. Players are taking the stage. There are very, very few words that can truly encapsulate the feeling of being on that stage, being in that auditorium, and the pressure that is on these guys' shoulders. World Championships, it starts right now. Before we get to the games, I do want to go down the line, ask you guys some opinions that myself and the viewers can actually start to learn from this first stage of games in Group Stage 1 in Taipei. Let's talk about what we're going to learn, talk about what we can understand for the rest of the World Championship. Once again, Krams, you're on my hit list. Start us off.
Now, the match to watch is going to be EDG versus Samsung White. We got the #1 seed from China playing against the #2 seed from Korea, which is arguably the better team and possibly the best team in the world right now. These two teams will give us a really good understanding as to how China stacks up against Korea. And from that, since both of these teams are highly favored to win the whole thing, this could be a final match to watch right in the first game.
It's true, and I do think that the Korean teams are absolutely incredible, especially teams like Samsung White, but I'm actually really interested in seeing what the two Taiwanese teams are going to bring out here, because I think the GPL is sort of underrepresented. Again, in Season 2, TPA won the whole thing. No one thought they would. They were a huge underdog there. And then last year, we had Mineski and Gamma Bear show up, who were gigantic underdogs. They didn't win a single game, and it kind of undersold the region. But AHQ and TPA are much better than I think people are giving them credit for, and they're going to turn some heads.
Yeah, I agree with that. Just from seeing TPA scrim over the last couple of months, you have to remember they brought in a Korean coach from Najin, and they've just been getting better and better and better. They had a very clean sweep in the GPL finals, and I'm excited to see them, especially with the home crowd behind them. That could really be the key to win in a very close group.
Something I'm going to pay close attention to is just vision control in general. It is no longer like last year that you can just buy an Oracle and just start sweeping the map. Vision control is a lot more methodical, especially with supports. Are they going to do Mobi boots early? Are they going to play like the Koreans? Are we going to see deep wards? Are people going to play with fewer or more wards? How are they going to play around those wards? That's something I'm going to pay a lot of attention to in the games. And I just want to see how far Korean is ahead in terms of macro level strategy and vision control.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting. This is the first World Championship with trinkets. I know we're all used to it playing in the game, but it was less than a year ago those things got added to the game, so it is a very different game from last year.
Yep. Well, we'll definitely see how that pans out. Thank you very much. Gentlemen, we are gearing up for that first match of the day, and of course it will be Edward Gaming from China taking on Samsung White. You can actually see Edward Gaming studying up, doing some last-minute VOD review. Samsung White making sure their mechanical ability is up to scratch. We will see if they deliver. These two teams will go head-to-head when we come back. So guys, stay with us. Just going to do a short ad break. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the 2014 League of Legends World Championship. We're kicking off our group stage with a hotly anticipated matchup where China's Edward Gaming faces Korea's Samsung White. These are far and away the two favorite teams in the group, and Edward Gaming is LPL's #1 seed after they took the spring and summer split and won the regional final. They are considered to be a super team with an origin story that's not unlike the European LCS Team Alliance. I would also say they play like a non-stereotypical Chinese team. I think they're very intelligent about the way they play. And I'd like to ask Monte Cristo your thoughts and opinion on Edward Gaming.
Yeah, they really play a lot more like the Korean teams. I know a lot of the Chinese analysts like to call them Baby Blue in reference to Samsung Blue's kind of positional-focused AD carry where they have deft, the emphasis on kind of a slow build-up and then ending the game with impressive team-fighting skills. So they're a lot different than the more skirmish-oriented playmaking style of a team like Starhorn Royal Club. So there's a lot of diversity now in strategy in the Chinese scene that we're seeing.
And honestly, I still think, though, that Samsung White has a bit of an edge here because I think they match everywhere so darn well. Now, the one thing Edward does have, though, is Name, an incredibly strong AD carry, and him and FCZF are going to do whatever they can in the duo lane. But I really, really want to see how that matches up against Imp and Mata because those guys are incredible as well. If Edward wins, Name goes off. Whether Name plays an aggressive early game laner to bully or he gets sniper-fed on someone like Kog'Maw, we have to see.
Yeah, we will find out. I'm happy you bring up Samsung White. They, of course, the #2 seed from Korea. We keep saying this. We will continue saying it. Many view them as the strongest team in their region. This is the second trip to Worlds. Last year they played as Samsung Ozone, but they have made a notable change. It is a new mid laner, and they appear to be significantly stronger than last year.
Yeah, Pawn is a very solid mid lane player, and I think that this roster swap, one of the coaches said in an interview a while back that switching Pawn and Dade, the intention was to get both teams to Worlds. He was a little bit of a more rookie player at the time, and so he kind of fell in line behind the shot calling from Dandy and Mata, the more playmaking players, whereas Dade fit very nicely into Blue as a playmaking mid laner, and that kind of gave Blue the spark they needed to be successful.
Yeah, and of course, we're going to talk about the jungle. Dandy, probably the strongest jungler here at the tournament. Crumbs, as a jungler yourself, talk to me about what your thoughts on the player.
Now, Dandy has been in the scene for quite a while, and he's been consistent all throughout. He's been playing Lee Sin, Evelynn, Elise, all the meta champions for a while, and Korea is one of the few regions that's able to bring out Rengar as well. So he's got that in his champion pool, and he's the only player in the entire world that's still playing Evelynn after she got nerfed, which adds quite a bit of a surprise factor.
I just want to see how Hugh or Unstoppable holds up against Pawn, because I think that matchup is going to be very slanted, and as Crum said, Dandy, if it's not already slanted, then Dandy will slant it for them. And then in the bot lane, yeah, sure, Nami is a really good AD carry, but Mata is just complete ranks above SAZF, so it's going to be really tough for EDG to just outmatch their enemies, because in roll for roll, or lane for lane at least, they're at least tied, if not better.
I do think we are underselling Clear Level a little bit, though. He has incredibly high kill participation. He actually ganks incredibly well, and I know Dandy's a player who likes to get in his opponent's head and try to understand what his opponent is going to do. Maybe that happens here, but I don't want to count out clear left. I think he can also get his lanes going and get that early game that I think Edward needs to get here.
Well, I like the fact we've got a little bit of differing opinions on the players. Let's see if it actually shows true in the predictions. Wouldn't be an analyst desk without that prediction game, so I'm going to be putting these guys on the spot, and I want to know legitimately who you think will be winning this matchup. Let's run this one down the line. Crepo, who's going away with the W?
Yeah, pretty much what I said already. Like, White's gonna win this. I think lane for lane, as I said before, they're gonna outclass their opponents. And then even in terms of just macro level strategy, their vision control will be better. Edward Gaming's had decent vision control, but I mean, White is just, yeah, it's White. You know, they're gonna win this.
Crumbs?
I think White is gonna win it as well. You know, when it comes to the methodical Korean playstyle compared to a little bit more chaotic, even though EDG is not that chaotic, to the chaotic Chinese style, I pick the brain over the brawn.
Yeah.
Or the brawn.
Yes.
Monte Cristo.
How do I follow that up? No, I got to go with Samsung White as well. I do think EDG is a very strong team, and because if both teams make it out, they'll be placed on opposite sides of the bracket. We're looking at a possible preview of the World Finals here as well, potentially.
Well, we'll find out. Freak, final thoughts.
So I definitely think Samsung White is going to win this game. I agree with kind of all the comments here where they seem to be a little bit better everywhere, but sometimes the X factor comes in, and you know Edward could make that play. But yes, down the line, I think Samsung White is better strategically and a little bit better in every single role.
Well, you guys at home have heard what our analysts are picking. Let's see who you chose to come away with a victory in this first game. Over on LOLesports.com, 80% of you say that Samsung White will take the first win. It's heavy favorites for sure. Now, despite the fact Edward Gaming is heading into Worlds as the #1 team from China, they are their own biggest critics as they prepare for the competition.
到了 EDG 也没算进步吧，随着版本变化，然后自己打法也有一些不同。
这个赛季表现呢，整体来说一般嘛。最近的一段时间自己打的都很差，这就是最近跟皇族的那一盘吧。我想占一个很容易杀到 UZI 的位置，就被对面的 Zero 勾到了，垂直勾到了，被他盲勾，然后直接秒了那波团战输了，然后就导致整盘都输掉了。
我觉得转折点有2个吧，第一个是 RET 上，就第一个杯赛上嘛，然后打赢了 OMG， 还有一个就是打 W1 吧。其实，在打完 W1 之后的状态一直都不是特别好，也算是一个下降的一个转折吧。
每输掉比赛，大家都会回去看视频，然后总结，大家会去积极的去沟通。
其实我们队伍现在关键问题还是要交流吧，关键不停地打训练赛，然后通过训练赛来练习一下自己队友和队友之间的默契。
训练的话，因为韩服之前的版本比国服快嘛，现在国服也跟上了嘛，然后就会先去研究一些视频和 BP 的顺序和选择，然后再根据队伍队员的打法和性格、队伍的风格，然后筛选一些英雄和一些打法的元素，然后放在训练赛中。
我们 队伍和韩国队伍也训练的挺多的，至少大家打韩国队是心理上是没什么压力的。
今年韩国出现的3个队伍还都是非常强的吧 ？S4 真正拉开战幕的时候，如何能够在各个队伍集结在一起的时候，找到合适的训练对手，然后同时锻炼队伍、提升队伍，然后又能达到战术上的保密，也是非常重要的。
感觉说起来，如果碰到3星，也不是没有赢的机会，感觉也能赢。
挺想和那个 韩国的 Save 打一打。
我们当然希望就是说队伍能够有一个比较好的一个成绩嘛。
我们在次参赛 S4的舞台上，我们的目标就是冠军。